Hey guys, I wanted to give you a quick follow-up on the Sotiera belt from Matbock. So some folks were concerned about some of my hypothesis from having not used it. So I did take some time, loaded it up, put on some combat pants, put the inner belt in, put this on, and tried it under load with a handful of different setups. Some holster, some no holster. And one thing that I'm happy to kind of walk back on is that even though the ribs on the cage here are fairly pronounced and you can absolutely feel where they are, that's about where that stops, unless you've got something else impacting the way the belt fits on your body. So what I mean by that is, even though they're there, they're not painful. You're just aware that they're there. They don't really cause a hot spot. But if you are in a vehicle for a long period of time where that is, where you have extra forces pushing the belt into you, you may get to the point where it becomes uncomfortable. Just walking around with a load on here, it was all right. My concerns about Velcro continuity, they held fairly true. The belt doesn't necessarily slide side to side once you intentionally line it up with the inner belt. However, under load, the amount of continuity is limited enough, and the breaks are pronounced enough from the cage that you can get some sagging or some raising in the belt, and it does disconnect a little bit. Additionally, the lack of continuity around the flanks and to the front absolutely does have an impact, and that is further pronounced by having a holster on the outer belt. I played around with holster on either end because if you're using the cage the way it's intended to make a quick change setup, having the holster on the running end is not ideal. But then you're also kind of splitting hairs. Okay, if I have the holster on the fixed end, it's not in the way of the cage, but did I have any need to put any pouches on this running end, which will then also be in the way. Additionally, the one wrap that helps secure the cage in place laterally is not effective at keeping it stable, even when worn. You know, obviously straight, the lack of lockup there is a little bit more pronounced, but when worn, any amount of mass as you're shuffling side to side, perhaps running, you can hear that slipping around, which one is moving the belt or the cage on the belt, but two, if noise discipline is important to you, I'm not saying it's important to me. I've never been cool enough for noise to be a huge concern. The one wrap also creates some added noise, you know, even minimal movement there. All right, that's not to say that you're not going to have something else on your kit that's noisier than that. It's entirely possible. There's room here to increase the width of the one wrap. I don't know if there is an 1.5-inch one wrap that exists, but more width on that one wrap would help. And it's a little bit short too. Some added length would give you a little bit more flexibility to really torque this down and have this tail not be as pronounced, because with the tag on here, the tag is almost its own bug in the system, because it makes it really easy to catch that. If they had sewn it down on the outside of this one wrap so the continuity went all the way to the tip, that would have helped fix some of that. There is one option on here that I didn't acknowledge in the original video. The cage doesn't have to be used with their belt. It can be bought separate. They're $80, $85 on their own. And if you like the quick change ability of the cage, by all means, you can throw it on whatever battle belt you want, and something with better continuity or better Velcro lockup on the ends, it might work out better than on this belt. None of that is to discredit the quality of the manufacturing, or that somebody asked for it. It's just not, it's not my cup of tea. If it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, buy something else. All right, thanks guys.